Welcome to School of Science. In today's session, we'll discuss about a small topic that is classification. So in order to understand this concept, let us take an example of a situation where there is a classroom with n number of students and a single teacher. Here, the teacher finds difficulty in classifying or dividing the class into different students with different capabilities, that is intellectual capacities. So she conducts a class test, and after observing the marks of all the students, she will be able to divide the classroom into the students with different intellectual abilities and different scoring, that is the average students and the topper, that is the rank students, and the below average students. By doing so, her confusions was cleared. So in order to clear our confusions, it is very essential to classify the things or classify certain particular things. Our planet consists of millions to billions of living species or organisms. That includes organisms from minute or microscopic organisms like bacteria to huge macroscopic organisms like birds, plants, animals, and human beings. So, based on certain features, that is the characteristic features, these living species are classified into respective categories. So, every species on this earth will have a certain characteristic features. By noticing all the characteristic features, we can classify the organism into respective groups. So let us know about the definition of classification. Here, classification means it is the division of living organisms based on the similarities and differences in the physical, biochemical, and genetical characteristics. So, we already gone through a situation of a class and a class teacher who divides her class into different group of students. In the same way, here in simple words, classification means it is the division of living organism. We divide the living organism, any living species based on the similarities and differences. We check the similarities. That is, whether the characters are similar or same or whether the characters are different or other. So, some of the characters we notice are physical characters, biological characters, biochemical characters, and genetical characters. By observing the differences and similarities on all these characteristics, we divide the living organisms. So, this is called as classification. So, it is very important to classify the organisms. So, if we want to classify the organism, it is very important. That is, it is mandatory to follow the following hierarchy. This is called as the level of hierarchy, which includes the kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and the species. To classify any organism, it is very essential to follow this level of hierarchy. Here, the species, this is the first and the fundamental unit of classification. So, species are the first and the fundamental unit of classification. In order to do any kind of classification, it is very important to follow this level of hierarchy. So, after knowing all these characters or all these about classification, there are some importance of classification. Now let's move to the importance of classification. So with the process of biological classification, we are able to classify organisms based on their characteristic features. As I already told, every individual species will have their own characteristic features. So by noticing all the particular characteristic features, we are going to classify the organism, or we are grouping, or we are dividing the organism into a specific category. We'll understand the evolution of organism, that is how the particular organism has evolved and how the evolution process has taken place and who are their ancestors. Understand about the interrelationship between various organisms, that is how one species is related to the other species, how the one organism has interconnection between the other organism. This can be understood through the process of biological classification. It is very important to learn about the extinct and existing species. Here, extinct species are nothing but the species that have vanished or diminished, and the existing species are the species that are present now. And the last thing is economic importance of different organisms for human welfare. That is, many of the plants, animals, algae, and many more components of the living world has some importance for human welfare. This can be studied, or this can be understood through the process of biological classification. So that's all for today's session. Let us come up with some more interesting concepts. So thank you.